Part 66. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 651. Chapter 651 The Doting Brother. Zhang Junlin lost a few pounds, his measurements did not change much, and his weight fluctuated normally. Ji Xian cut his clothes according to the old size. Winter is his favorite season. Clothes can be worn in different styles, such as sweaters, coats, etc. Waistcoats can be designed with new patterns. They are not as monotonous as summer clothes. Zhang Junlin mostly wears suits in winter and summer because of the occasions he attends. No matter how much he designs the suits, he can't come up with new patterns. He did design a colorful suit. I wanted to give Zhang Junlin a suit to wear, but he directly rejected it. This suit was from Long Fenglu's famous haute couture. Later, several popular idols came to borrow the clothes. They became famous because they were too thin. Wearing the style of a rich and beautiful man, unlike Zhang Junlin, who wears clothes and clothes, all suits are aesthetic and luxurious. After becoming popular, Ji Xian even took screenshots to show to Zhang Junlin. It looks so good. It would be a pity not to wear it. Zhang Junlin was indifferent. He liked the simple and luxurious style, but did not like the rainbow and rich style. I like calm colors all year round. He also suspected that the rainbow suit was designed by Ji Sun for Lu Ziwen. After all, there was a similar suit among the racing jerseys he designed for Lu Ziwen. In addition to designing clothes for Zhang Junlin, Ji Huan also worked with the old master to make Gu Si's wedding dress. The handmade wedding dress was time-consuming and inlaid with diamonds, which was cumbersome. The old master did it slowly. When Ji Huan left the Longfeng Tower, Zhang Junlin brought a set of sweaters, 2 sets of coats and 2 accessories. Zhang Junlin found that Ji Xian was a little clingy today. Not only did he come to Hualin to wait for him to get off work, but he also kept an eye on him. Hualin had several projects to sign, and it was the end of the year, and there was a lot of work. Zhang Junlin ran between Jidao and the bank. Fortunately, the offices of Hualin Bank and Jidao were very close to each other. Ji Sun also asked him why they didn't merge their offices. It was more convenient to have them in the same office building. Jidao is a government office, and it is a top-secret unit. Naturally, it cannot be merged with other companies in an office building. Even if it is Hualin Bank, Zhang Junlin does not care about personnel recruitment. How does he know who is being recruited? In a building in office, the risk factor is relatively high. This is different from Black Hawk. Black Hawk can merge with Global and work together, but the Ultimate cannot. Zhang Junlin asked, "The end of the year is here, isn't Black Eagle busy?" He would have to read the audit report alone for several days, not only Hualin's, but also Jidao's. Rongli is in charge of finance. His business is all at the end of the year, but I am the most relaxed at the end of the year. Ji Xian chuckled and said, "Brother, how much is Hualin's net profit for the whole year?" Zhang Junlin raised his eyebrows, chuckled and said, "I haven't finished reading the report yet, I guess it's 500. Where's the Jidao? The ultimate triple." Ah! Ji Xian thought to himself, it was Black Eagle who made money. He didn't expect Jidao's profits to be so low. Zhang Junlin chuckled and asked, "Where is Black Eagle?" "It's almost the same as the Yakuza." Zhang Junlin chuckled and said, "Who are you kidding? You have a wide range of business. Science and technology and military industry spent a lot of money on scientific research in the past few years, and you also received a lot of subsidies and preferential policies. You are starting to make money this year. They are all huge profit industries. How can it be the same as Jidao? Jidao's financial business is to serve other businesses. In addition to making money in finance, everything else is spent. Overseas operations, cooperation, and agents' salaries are mostly paid by the Jidao. Overseas agents' operations are all paid according to wartime allowances. Because the wages and benefits are very high and the positions are retained, some soldiers who come from the bottom are particularly fond of them. To carry out the mission of the Yakuza, the rewards are really too much. In the past 5 years, the treatment of all soldiers has been directly included. Isn't it because the state provides money when GDAO goes out on a mission? Everyone who goes on missions in GDAO receives double wages, and we also give one. If you do this, people will hate you to death, and the allocation will be increased every year. Ji-sun chuckled and said, no wonder you have to be treated well by others. It's a life or death mission. As long as you come back alive, money is a trivial matter. Zhang Junlin's favorite reward is to give away a house. Basically, he earns merit by doing missions in GDAO. According to the points system, the top 10 points in 3 years will all have a house. A 2-bedroom apartment in Sidia is something that many people cannot afford in their lifetime. Yes, Zhang Junlin is very generous in this regard, so once the GDAO warriors have established a foothold, they are not willing to change places. They have more money, more credit, and faster promotions. After leaving the GDAO, all departments are rushing to get him. Those who are really capable are just trying to get in. Those who have been in GDAO for more than 10 years basically have 2 houses per person. You don't have to worry about food and clothing even after you retire. Zhang Junlin developed a real estate project, which was all used as rewards. Therefore, all the people living in this community are special operations soldiers and their families, or they are engaged in intelligence. The property of the community is also in charge of the GDAO. There are 10 buildings in one community and 1 building in the community. There are almost 120 units in the building, all of the same type and size, with fine decoration. You can move in with your bags. The occupancy rate is not high because half of the units have not been given away. It can be said that it is the safest community in the city. If a thief comes to the door, it is simply a loss of life. Ji Xian had vaguely heard about Zhang Junlin's house delivery campaign, and asked Lu Ziwen if we should do it, but Lu Ziwen rejected it. If there was too much money to burn, he refused to be involved. He started with Black Eagle and let them do it on their own. Money. GDAO has a post-war pension fund every year, which deals specifically with welfare benefits. After injury and retirement, not only will they be given monthly money, but they will also be provided with jobs, and the welfare benefits are very good. Hence, the annual net profit of GDAO, even at the same scale, is not comparable to that of Black Hawk. Black Hawk is a for-profit organization that recruits a large number of the smartest brains in the world with the goal of making money. But if Black Hawk wants to compete with GDAO Financial, it will definitely not win, because GDAO is backed by the reserves of state-owned banks. It was also the first time that the two of them talked about profitability. Ji-sun did not hide anything and mentioned a number. Zhang Junlin raised his eyebrows in surprise, so high. Ji-sun smiled shyly, and Zhang Junlin stopped working and was very surprised. Didn't it only cost about 2,000 before? In the past 5 years, in addition to deploying technology and military industry, I have invested in profitable industries. I have a very accurate vision. Behind the Black Hawk we control more than 100 companies, and only 6 of them are losing money. We will not give up our core business, and then make money and let others work for us to make money. The game company I invested in 3 years ago was just for fun. I invested in it privately, and it became popular all over the world. The daily revenue is higher than that of a listed company in a year. I don't need to spend so much money on my own, and I have also converted it into a Black Hawk holding, Ji-sun said with a chuckle. You're different. You don't seem to be able to engage in venture capital on a large scale like me. Zhang Junlin laughed. Ji-sun was indeed very talented in making money. The market has not been very good in the past few years, so take your time and gather some funds, Zhang Junlin reminded. Is there any news? Just listen to me, Jang Junlin chuckled and took a look at the work progress. Are you worried about anything today? I see that you have been staring at the book and haven't turned the page. It's okay if I'm a little worried. Tell me about it. Jang Junlin took a document and chatted with Ji Sun while working. Wrongly said that I had some clues about my life experience and asked me if I wanted to continue investigating. If I wanted to investigate, I would have to go to country M myself. Zhang Junlin looked up at Ji Xian. Ji Xian looked out the French window. The afternoon sun fell on his face, which made him feel a little lonely. Zhang Junlin felt a little pain in his heart. He put down his work and poured a cup of coffee over and handed it to Ji Xian. I thought you found them all. No, Ji Sun laughed. Why do you think so? I heard you talking about it a few years ago, but then suddenly you stopped mentioning it. I thought maybe I found it and they are living a good life now, or maybe they hurt your heart and don't care about you, so you don't care either. This matter. Ji Huan was particularly enthusiastic about finding relatives for a while, but then suddenly stopped talking about it. Zhang Junlin wondered if he had found him, but Ji Huan didn't say anything, and he didn't take the initiative to ask. Suddenly I feel boring. I don't lack family either. Third Master, Ziu, your family are all my family, so I don't really want to find them. So as not to cause trouble for myself, but there is no hope at all, and I don't thinking about it, now that I have some clues, the idea comes back, and I want to know why I was wandering on the street alone. Ji Sun knew that he had to look forward, but he always had a delusion about what his parents would be like if they were still alive, whether they would have a new child, and whether they would always miss him. Brother, should I check? Ji Sun asked, seeming to be looking for a definite answer. Zhang Junlin looked at his brows and stretched out his hand to smooth the wrinkles between his brows. Do you want to go? I don't know. Ji Sun's style of doing things is very neat and his goals are very clear. He can do whatever it takes to achieve his goals. But in this matter, he was hesitant. I can't help you decide, Zhang Junlin said. No matter what the outcome is, you can bear it. If you want to find it, I will help you find it. If you don't want to find it, that's okay. Actually, Zhang Junlin secretly did not want Ji Sun to go find him. He secretly helped Ji Sun investigate for a while in private. Although he found nothing, no one reported the crime, and no one published a newspaper. He specially sent people to find old newspapers, but there was no photo. He was afraid that the truth would hurt Ji Sun. Ji Sun's sufferings were all over, and he didn't have to be hurt by people he might never see again in his lifetime, but he felt uncomfortable seeing Ji Sun's hesitation. Let's go, I'll take you to dinner. Ji Sun was startled and raised his hand to look at his watch. It was only 4 o'clock, don't you have to get off work at 7 o'clock? Skip work. Zhang Junlin chuckled and said, I'm hungry. Ji Sun was overjoyed and had no intention of finding his family. Let's go back to the apartment and I'll cook for you. Okay, Zhang Junlin took the coat and put it on. Do you have any food at home? No, so let's go to the supermarket first. Ji Xian's heart exploded, and his tone became brisk. Let's go to the supermarket first, have dinner, and then go out to watch a movie. You won't work overtime at night, right? Okay, let's go to the movies with you. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 652. Chapter 652. The wedding date is set. There was a movie released recently. It was a series of movies that Lu Ziwen liked very much. He also liked the actors. He also wanted to see Gu Ci to watch the movie. Unfortunately, Gu Ci had to be on duty and couldn't leave the hospital. Gu Ci volunteered, I'll go see it with you. Lu Ziwen's disgust was almost in his eyes, and Gu Ci gloated, when mom is done working during this period and the movies are all released, I will accompany you to watch them, so that you won't go to the movies alone like Rong Li. It's time to burn some incense. Wouldn't I ask Rong Li or Ji Sun to see it? Brother will ignore you. He went to see him tonight with his uncle Gu Ziu always knew first-hand information about Ji Sun. Lu Ziwen suspected that the two of them chatted every day and reported each other's schedule. Rong Li is busy at the end of the year adult dog. You volunteered because Ji Sun went to see a movie, Lu Ziwen asked leisurely, do you still want to go to the same movie? That's right, Gu Ziu thought to himself, is there anything wrong with going to the movies together? Lu Ziwen asked with a half-smile, it's not enough for you to be a light bulb for us, so you have to be a light bulb for them. Gu Ziu's eyes widened, are you feeling aggrieved? If you don't like others being the light bulbs, let's do it together. Isn't it your favorite thing to make trouble for your uncle? That makes sense. Gu Ziu's eyes shone and his voice became delicate, is it okay? Dad. You really have no bottom line just to go out for fun. Why are you trying to expose me? Gu Ziu had been lying in the hospital for so many days. He was really bored to death. He just wanted to go out and have a good time. Gu Ci didn't agree, so he had no choice but to stay in the hospital. Let me ask Xiaosai. When Gu Ci heard that Gu Ziu was going out to watch a movie, her first reaction was to refuse, the murderer hasn't been caught yet. What if you take him out to watch a movie? What if there is a risk? With me here, how can there be any risk? You were there when he was stabbed, Gu Ci reminded him, you are not omnipotent. Lu Ziwen was stunned, is it my fault? No, Gu Ci also realized that he had said something wrong, I am seeking truth from facts. I am very restless, just in case I didn't notice. I tied it to the waistband of my trousers, and I followed him when he went to the bathroom. I would not let him leave my sight. If the murderer really wants to attack again, I will definitely catch her once and for all. Gu Ci sighed, knowing that Ziu would be a little bored after recuperating for so long. She said helplessly, okay, then, don't let him leave your sight. Do not worry. When Gu Ziu received the permission order, he almost jumped up. Considering his injuries, he was still very steady and did not let Gu Ci worry. Gu Ci warned, you must stay with Dad and don't leave even half a step, you know. I know, Gu Ziu nodded like a chicken pecking at rice, Mom, don't worry, I will never leave my father for even half a step. Lu Ziwen bought 2 tickets and took Gu Ziu out. Gu Ziu's injury would not be a serious problem as long as he did not exercise strenuously. Although it would hurt a little, Gu Ziu could bear it and his tolerance was very high. Not afraid of this pain at all. Dad, take me to eat something delicious. You have to avoid food. Cantonese food is okay. Gu Ziu settled for the next best thing. Lu Ziwen thought he was pitiful, so he still took him to eat Cantonese food. Unfortunately, he bumped into Zhang Junlin and Ji Xian. Gu Ziu and Ji Sun were both stunned. Ji Sun and Zhang Junlin were on their way to the supermarket. There was a car accident on the road and they were stuck in traffic for a while. They simply went to the river to drink a cup of tea. They did not plan to cook for themselves. They walked and played by the river and then came to the cinema. While eating, Ji Xian saw Zhang Junlin's half-smiling eyes, and his scalp went numb. I never told Ziu that I wanted to eat here. What a coincidence, brother and uncle, you are also here to eat, let's come together. Why are you discharged from the hospital? My mother specially approved it to let me go out and watch a movie to avoid suffocating myself. Zhang Junlin had a bad premonition. Ji Sun asked, what time are you watching the show? Gu Ziu turned to look at Lu Ziwen. Lu Ziwen glanced at his phone and said, 8:15. Ji Sun. Depend on. They are also showing at 8:15, Third Master, what movie are you watching? Lu Ziwen simply showed him his cell phone. When Ji Xian saw the name and the scene, it was really a movie. Ji Xian smiled, what a coincidence, Ziu, Third Master. Chang Junlin. Is this a reaction to being interrupted on a date? Jang Junlin was not unhappy at all. He was originally going to watch a movie with Ji-sun to make him happy. Although Ji-sun was a little surprised when he saw Ziyu and Lu Ziwen, he was quite happy, so he didn't care. After Ji Xian reacted, he stopped smiling and said to Jang Junlin very seriously, "Brother, we can change to a movie theater. I really don't want to be disturbed on our date. Brother must be unhappy. I really don't want to be disturbed on the date, so just tell Ziyu everything." Jang Junlin chuckled and rubbed his head. He suspected that Ziyu would ask Ji-sun the first time he had a wet dream, but not him and Lu Ziwen. It is obviously not a coincidence to watch a movie at such a coincidence. Several people met and ate together in the private room. Gu Ziyu was a hard worker. He took the menu and ordered everything he wanted to eat. He ordered 8 dishes in one go, but Jang Junlin crossed out 2. Lu Ziwen also crossed out 2, leaving only 4 dishes. Gu Ziyu puffed up his cheeks. Really annoying. Ji-sun couldn't laugh or cry, so he asked the manager to call the chef over and give him specific instructions on what to avoid and how to prepare a few dishes. He and Jang Junlin are regular customers, and the chef is also familiar with them and can make dishes that Jang Junlin likes. Ji-sun ordered a hot corn juice. Gu Ziyu was disgusted and wanted to drink cold juice, but Jang Junlin refused. Gu Ziyu sighed, he should find a different restaurant with his father. His uncle was much stricter than his father. "Why didn't Zayasai come with you?" Jang Junlin asked. "She has to be on duty," Lu Ziwen replied softly. "Isn't Mr. Jang busy at the end of the year? He went out to eat and watch a movie so early." Gu Ziyu said that they came out at around 4 o'clock, obviously skipping work. "I'm a little busy, but I can't compare to your leisure time," Jang Junlin said. Ji Xian and Gu Ziyu stared at each other, making eye contact. "Don't let them talk by themselves, it would be embarrassing." Gu Ziyu raised his eyebrows and didn't care about their lawsuit. He was just waiting to eat. Ji-sun said, "Third master, the wedding dress is already being sampled. The master's work will be a bit slow." "It's okay, just make it in time." Jang Junlin was a little puzzled. "Can you make it in time? Have you set a wedding date? Why didn't I know?" Gu Ziyu also blurted out, "Uncle, don't look at me, I don't know either." "That's right, when the wedding date is set, why doesn't he know?" Jang Junlin asked, "Did you decide the wedding date in your own mind, without asking the little porcelain lady's family? Or do you think we all know the day you have set by heart?" Lu Ziwen. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 653. Chapter 653 The Encounter with the Little Hamster. Lu Ziwen was criticized by Jang Junlin, but he was not angry at all. He had indeed not confirmed the wedding date with the Jang family, and he and Gu Si had not agreed on it. They wanted to wait for the wedding dress to be confirmed on the date before settling on it. There was another reason, he didn't know if he would live until the wedding date was set. If he couldn't live, it would be fine if the date was not announced. Otherwise, if the date was announced, he would not survive. Zayasai would have to face the wedding alone, and there would be a lot of gossip. "Zayasai and I want to set a date for June. June is good, and early summer is not too hot. The temperature is appropriate, and the weather should be good," Ji-sun said. "When you agree on a wedding date, you also need to combine the birth dates of the two people into one, and choose a day with the same birth dates," Jang Junlin said. "Brother, are you still superstitious?" "This is custom," Jang Junlin chuckled and said, "We want to get engaged, and we have to choose a good day." "He doesn't know how to choose his birth date," Lu Ziwen deliberately argued. Guzio said, "It's very simple. Just choose an auspicious day." "That's not allowed." "Then if you throw dice, can custom still drive people to death?" Guzio said, "Old feudalism." Lu Ziwen. "The son is indeed from another family." He looked at Guzio with a smile. "Do you want to watch a movie next time?" Guzio was scared for a second. "Dad, I was wrong. Lu Ziwen and Zhang Junlin are not such ignorant people, and they will not argue all the time. They have many common topics together. They can talk about anything, it just depends on whether they want to talk. Ji Xian and Guzio are the most popular. It can liven up the atmosphere." This meal was quite harmonious. After dinner, we went to see a movie together. They went to the movie, and Kono also bought a ticket. There was a large group of people, and there were people of his own in front and behind, especially after Guzii was assassinated. They were all extra cautious in this dark and sealed space. Guzio said, "Next time we watch a movie, let's book the theater." Ji-sun also thinks it makes sense. There are so many guards, and the attendance rate of their reserved games is also very impressive. This time it was a temporary decision. They didn't have time to book the tickets. It was indeed a miscalculation. Zhang Qiang looked at his nose and his heart, not paying much attention to the movie, but always paying attention to what was going on around him. Guzio was surrounded by Guzio and Ji Xian, and there were guards in front and behind. He was very safe, and there was basically no place to attack. Moreover, the movie theater is a confined space, and there are cameras. There is a guard watching the camera. As long as the killer is not crazy, he will not choose the movie theater. Unless he is a mortal enemy and wants to die together, otherwise it will not be like this. Dementia. Guzio was the happiest. He concentrated on watching the movie without having to worry about anything else. He also thought the movie was very good. He even shared it with Guzii in the middle of the movie. It was a movie that all three of them liked. Haven't missed a single series. Ji-sun secretly held Zhang Junlin's hand. Taking advantage of the dim light in the cinema and no one noticed, he held hands unscrupulously. The two rings were overlapped. Just looking at Ji-sun felt sweet. Zhang Junlin's attention was not on the movie. He was quite worried about Ziyu, so before entering the cinema, he told Zhang Qiang to be careful about his surroundings. He also specially arranged for someone to watch the surveillance. He, Lu Ziwen, and Ji Xian would watch the surveillance video from time to time. I went to see Guzio's condition. Guzio was holding a bucket of popcorn, munching like a little hamster. He was the happiest. Moi. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 654. Chapter 654, the case has some clues. After watching the movie, Guzio was still interested in having fun, and wanted to have a midnight snack with Ji Huan and Zhang Junlin. Zhang Junlin was interrupted by someone on a date, and it was already 10 o'clock. The second half of the date was obviously not suitable for children, and he did not want to take Guzio with him. Ziyu went to have a late-night snack, and Ji Xian understood immediately and said with a chuckle, "I'm too full after dinner, I don't exercise, and I'm not hungry at all." "Baby, are you hungry?" Guzio wasn't hungry at all, he just wanted to relax after being in jail for a long time. Neither Ji-sun nor Zhang Junlin had any intention of eating midnight snacks, so Guzio had no choice but to give up. Lu Ziwen saw how pitiful he was and wanted to take him for a walk, but it was 10 o'clock, and Guzii had already urged him twice, asking him to take Guzio back to the hospital and not stay outside. Lu Ziwen was helpless and took Guzio back to the hospital. The guards were very careful about their surroundings along the way. The environment and whether anyone is following Guzio's case has not yet been found. There has been a lot of noise recently and the murderer may not come out to act. They still dare not relax their vigilance and take Gu Ziyu out for a walk to let the murderer know that if the plan fails, if she acts rashly, they can get away with it once and for all. The news that Gu Ziyu is safe after being assassinated can be found out with the slightest channel, and it cannot be hidden. Gu Ziyu went out to have a meal and watch a movie and then returned to the hospital, feeling depressed. Gu Ziyu had surgery and was not in the ward. Seeing his son's pitiful appearance, Lu Ziwen chuckled and said, "I'll bear with you for 2 more days, go back to the world to recuperate." "Really?" Gu Ziyu's eyes lit up. "Cooperate well with your mother's treatment these 2 days. Your condition has improved and you can naturally go home. It's not safe to be in the hospital all the time. Ziyasai is just worried about your injury. This time it scares her and she has to keep it under her nose. Don't worry, you have to be considerate of her." Lu Ziwen touched her son's head. This was Gu Zi's fate. If her son lost a hair, she would fight for her life. This time, she turned around in front of the gate and killed Gu Ziyu. Scared. "I promise to be obedient and don't break the promise. If my mother doesn't agree, you will take me home." Gu Ziyu grabbed the quilt and looked at him trustingly. "I'm counting on you." Lu Ziwen couldn't help laughing. "Okay." Gu Ziyu also knew that it was safest for Gu Ziyu to recuperate in Universal City, and it was indeed too boring for the young man to stay in the hospital. She was busy with work and could not accompany him every day. After carefully examining Gu Ziyu's wounds, she agreed that he should go to Universal City to recuperate. Gu Ziyu was overjoyed. He had thought that Lu Ziwen was not sincere in taking him back to Universal to recuperate. He was recuperating in the hospital. Lu Ziwen could often come to the hospital to see him, and he could have a meal with his mother, or chat for a while. After all, he could see him. Above, if they return to Universal to recuperate, they won't be able to see above. Lu Ziwen said, "I'm worried about you staying in the hospital. What if the murderer really goes to the hospital to find Ziyasai? I'll take you home to save her trouble." Gu Ziyu. Gu Ziyu, who originally wanted to praise his father and cultivate the relationship between father and son, angrily gave up the idea. He has fatherly love, but not much. After settling down with Gu Ziyu when he returned to Huan, Rong Li came to see Lu Ziwen. "Third Master, we have an idea." Rong Li came over with a piece of information. 3 months ago, the young master investigated a bribery case. It's a coincidence that this case is related to the Yakuza and Black Eagle. The last time our Black Hawk reported the Yakuza, a man named Song Li leaked the information behind his back. He was a director of the Yuda Financial Center and had a grudge against Black Hawk, so he secretly planned a revenge. That incident, he hid the incident, and both of us handled it lightly, so the matter was over. However, he was fired for corruption a month later. Zhang Junlin did not hold him accountable because of his many years of hard work. As long as he spits out the stolen money, forget the blame. This man is smart and knows many secrets of the Jidao. After returning to City A, he used the information to trade with the civil engineering side, and manipulated the futures market behind the scenes to disrupt the transaction. The young master was responsible for investigating the case. He will be arrested soon. Lu Ziwen knew that this case was handled by Gu Ziyu. At that time, the direction of the investigation was focused on the Jida. Gu Ziyu and Chen Liangdong felt that someone within the Jida had interfered with the market and violated the law. This matter was related to Zhang Junlin, so they could only covertly during the investigation. Gu Ziyu had been avoiding Zhang Junlin at that time, for fear of finding out any clues. Song Li had been with the Jida for many years, was familiar with the operation of the Jida, and had certain connections, so he wanted to put the blame on the Jida. It's easy. Even if they can't frame the blame, it will create a barrier between Mr. Wang and Chen Liangdong. Chen Liangdong handed over the case to Gu Ziyu. Gu Ziyu was not biased in the investigation. He also believed that he was not a direct descendant of Zhang Junlin. He was able to do such a thing. Later, He peeled off the cocoon and found Song Li's head. No one in the Jida was alerted. Zhang Junlin didn't know about it. His direct lineage was investigated by Gu Ziyu. Song Li's case was complicated, and the national security quickly closed the net. On his way to escape, he kidnapped a pursuit team member and tried to escape from the country, but was shot dead by a special force team member. This file was sealed in the National Security Bureau and became a top-secret file and has not been made public. Chang Junlin could not tolerate sand in his eyes. Jidao and Black Eagle had stood firm for so many years. They protected their shortcomings, but their bottom line was not to be violated. Song Li violated Zhang Junlin's bottom line, so Zhang Junlin did not protect him and directly dismissed him. Song Li originally had a bright future. He was already the director of the Udao Financial Center with a very high position. However, he was demoted from his position. Years of hard work were in vain. With his qualifications, he could survive another 5 or 6 years and withdraw from the Udao. He could work as a president in several major banks, and his career would be endless as he worked his way up. However, due to a corruption incident, he was expelled from the extreme by Zhang Junlin, erasing all his efforts and ruining his bright future. Wrongly gave Lu Ziwen a photo. The photo showed a young woman with heroic features and short shoulder-length hair. This is Song Li's daughter. Her name is Song Laniang. She is 23 years old and was trained by the Udao agent. Song Laniang. Lu Ziwen said with a slightly cold expression, "Call Ziyu over." Gu Ziyu was happily playing games when he was called over to identify someone. He looked at the photo and was silent for a moment. "It kind of looks like it." "Is it just a resemblance?" Lu Ziwen asked. Gu Ziyu identified it carefully. He had a photographic memory, but that day was too special and the light was not good. The murderer still had a crew cut and was dressed as a man. In the photo, he had shoulder-length short hair and was dressed as a girl. Not very sure, Gu Ziyu was not sure about something and could not give an accurate answer. Wrongly said, "I understand. It will become clear once we find Song Laniang. Go and find out her whereabouts." Good. Wrongly didn't talk nonsense. In the hospital, a patient with a sudden myocardial infarction was sent to the outpatient department. He would be hospitalized for a few days. After being admitted to the inpatient department, Gu Ci took over her file and came to examine her. The woman has long chestnut hair, honey-colored skin, is healthy and energetic, and has a pair of big smiling eyes. She does not look like a patient suffering from a myocardial infarction at all. Gu Ci knows that the age of suffering a myocardial infarction is getting younger and younger. If everyone lives an irregular and unhealthy life, it is easy to develop heart problems. "Are you Song Laniang?" Song Laniang smiled and nodded. "Hello, doctor, I've been having severe heart pain recently. Do I have a heart attack?" Young patients with myocardial infarction always worry that they have a heart disease. Gu Ci asked her about her daily routine, and Song Laniang said, "It's not very regular. In the past 6 months, I have been extremely stressed and anxious. I can't sleep well at night. I wake up after 2 hours of sleep, and my heart feels very uncomfortable." End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 655. Chapter 655. Everything has changed. Why can't you sleep well? My dad just passed away and I was fired. I can't find a job and I feel anxious. Song Laniang's eyes turned red. "Doctor, am I seriously ill?" "It's not serious," Gu Ci reassured her. "When did the heartache start?" "About a month ago. I always had throbbing pain. I saw the doctor and took a X-ray. The doctor said it was nothing serious and asked me to have a good rest, but I couldn't rest well. In order to force myself to rest, I took it every night." "Take sleeping pills." "How many sleeping pills do you usually take?" "Sometimes 3, sometimes 4. Gu Si frowned slightly, and Song Lanying said, I don't want to eat so much, but I can't sleep. Is the heartache regular? It's not very regular. The pain is most obvious when I'm in a bad mood. It hurt 2 or 3 times a day at first, and then it became a dull pain all day long. I couldn't breathe several times. I went to several hospitals, but they didn't get any treatment. After a result, I heard that the cardiology department of Nanjing Hospital is very famous, so I came to try my luck. Doctor, you must save me. Song Lanying anxiously held Gu Si's wrist. She was very strong and very excited. Gu Si said, don't worry, you look so good and very healthy. I'll do another close examination in the afternoon. Did you do it for me? Yes. Song Lanying breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, doctor, I hope I can still be saved. Song Lanying had seen it in the outpatient clinic and had taken a film. Gu Si was able to get the film. Just by looking at the film, she couldn't see anything wrong. This girl was in very good health. She seemed to exercise regularly. She just caught Gu Si. Cie is very strong. Just by looking at her body shape, Gu Si can tell that her body fat rate is extremely low and her body muscles are clear. She is a woman who exercises regularly and is extremely healthy. She doesn't know why she has a heart attack. This heart attack, the problems are becoming more and more frequent, and the reason is not certain. Gu Si mainly wants to check whether she has any underlying diseases and do a precise examination. Just looking at the heart film, she is very healthy. Gu Si was not the only patient. After asking about her situation, she asked someone to arrange an examination. She originally wanted to arrange it in the afternoon, but she couldn't find time in the afternoon. The hospital was busier than a supermarket, and every department looked like a supermarket on sale. The queue was full, and the fastest she could do was arrange an examination for her at 9:30 tomorrow morning, which was just in time for an empty stomach. The nurse came to inform Song Lanying that she was playing with her mobile phone. She raised her head and smiled gently, okay. Yeah, are there any precautions? As long as it's on an empty stomach. Okay. After the nurse left, Song Lanying lowered her head and continued playing the game. Gu Si was sorting out the patient files. When the nurse came back, she gave her a medical record. You go check on the patients in the third bed and inform them of their preoperative preparations to avoid some patients lying. You stare at her and measure her weight. She says that she 120, I don't look like it, the weight is not accurate, and the dosage of anesthetic is difficult to control. After the nurse left, she kept coming back for half an hour and said in surprise, Dr. Gu, you are really good at predicting things. That girl is 135, what is 120 pounds? She lied about 15 pounds. If the dose of anesthetic is wrong, what happens is our hospital's responsibility? Is she crazy? This is pure seeking death. The little nurse wanted to complain to death, but then asked curiously, Dr. Gu, how did you know that she lied about her weight? Her boyfriend came with her. When you directly asked her how much she weighed, she didn't look very good and hesitated. I felt that she was hiding something. It's okay to hide 2 or 3 pounds. She looked confused. Like 120. Gu Si has seen all kinds of people in the hospital. The hospital is really full of people. Okay, leave her alone and prepare for her surgery tomorrow. Okay, I'll make arrangements. Gu Si was busy until late at night. Song Lanying couldn't stand it anymore because she called the nurse frequently, so she came to see Gu Si. Song Lanying kept saying that she had severe chest pain. Gu Si checked and found nothing unusual. Si saw that she was a little girl, and she had no one to accompany her, so she didn't care too much. She had seen more difficult patients like this, and Song Lanying was nothing. Late at night, after less than 2 hours of sleep, Gu Si got up inexplicably. The air conditioner in the room was turned on to be warmer. She sweated a little. In the quiet hospital at night, there was only a little footsteps. The inpatient department was very quiet. Gu Si got up. Going to the ward rounds, the patients were all resting well. Song Lanying was sitting by the window blowing the air. Gu Si frowned. Song Lanying, what are you doing? Can't sleep, Dr. Gu. Song Lanying's eyes were bloodshot and her expression was painful. I just had a dream, dreaming about my dad. Gu Si came over and closed the window. It's cold at night and the wind is strong. You are a patient, so lie down and rest well. Don't blow the wind if you can't sleep. Be careful of catching a cold. Dr. Gu, you are so attentive, Song Lanying said. You are also very beautiful. Gu Si's beauty is obvious to all, and some patients have also praised her. It is rare to see such a beautiful woman. Because she is too beautiful, she will also arouse the distrust of the patients and their families, who think that she is just a vase. What a real skill. Gu Si always wore a plain face in the hospital, her hair was simply tied up, and she often stayed up late, so her face was tired, but she couldn't hide her beauty. Dr. Gu's boyfriend must be very happy. Sleep well. Song Lanying's eyes were a little longing. Dr. Gu, I really can't sleep. Please talk to me. Gu Si glanced at the time. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. She was not the kind of hard-hearted doctor, but she was not a doctor who liked to chat with others. I'm not a good chat partner. It's late at night and I still have to check Fang. Song Lanying, don't think too much, you will be fine. Song Lanying looked at her back and clenched her fists. She knew that Gu Si, the sweet girl of heaven, was parachuted into the Jida. The Jida was actually divided into many departments, and each department had different channels. Not everyone might know her. She was in the Jidao. For several years, she had no contact with Gu Si or even Qin Wan. She was an agent trained by the Yuda. She was proficient in assassination and tracking. She was originally a sharp knife. 5 years ago, Zhang Junlin's identity was exposed, and the Jidao emerged from the darkness to the bright side. Everyone had a bright future and everyone had a goal to pursue. Her life plan was actually very simple. She has already done many missions in the Yakuza. Although she is not very old, she has performed well. As long as she obeys orders in the Yakuza and accumulates military merits, after 10 years, when she withdraws from the Yakuza, she will be able to grab money from any department. She is important and her position is not low. Her father is the director of Jidao Financial Center, and their family is not short of money. She is also the sweet girl of heaven, and her life is going smoothly. But half a year ago, everything changed. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 656. Chapter 656. A narrow escape from death. Her father was expelled from the Yakuza, and she was also implicated. The investigator asked her if she wanted to stay in the Yakuza, or transfer to another job. She had graduated from university, and originally planned to stay in the UK to study for graduate school and cooperate with European operations. If she stayed in Jidao, she can only study and have no job for the time being. Due to her father's corruption, she will be under observation for 2 years. If she is transferred, she will not need to. The arrangement given by Jidao is that she can be transferred to a civilian unit. After so many years in the Jida, she also understood that once she was transferred to a civilian unit, her abilities would be wasted for at least 3 years. Even if she passed the review after 3 years, she might not have a good ending. She resolutely decided the earth leaves the extreme realm. Song Li scolded her for this, saying that she was acting on impulse and should not leave the Yuda. Even if she took a civilian position, she would definitely be reused in a few years. Overseas agents were scarce, and there was no such thing as a carrot or a trap. Despite the shortage, Song Lanying is still a rare talent, most suitable for fighting on the front line. Song Lanying wanted to advance and retreat together with her father. The father and daughter had a deep relationship, but who knew that Song Li was dead? Song Lanying was at the scene, watching Song Li die. Before her death, her father said that if the Jida had not expelled him, he would not be where he is today. Because of the relationship between Zhang Junlin and Ji Suan, the Jida, he became a victim of Black Hawk's cooperation. Ji Dao was supposed to be fighting with Black Hawk until death, but now Zhang Junlin's son caught the situation and fell into the hands of Qiuan. Zhang Junlin used Qiuan's help to eradicate his dissidents. Song Lanying listened to that. The conversation was filled with grief, and he watched helplessly as Song Li was shot to death. He was filled with hatred and wanted Zhang Junlin to pay for his life. But Zhang Junlin was too difficult to kill. Zhang Qiang guarded him like a door god, and the guards were never far away. Whether it was food or use, everything was checked one by one. The security level was very high when traveling, so Song Lanying could not find a chance to attack. She set her sights on Gu Ziu. She was in Ji Dao and had access to Gu Ziu's files because of Song Li. She knew that Gu Ziu was Zhang Junlin's son. This was considered an open secret. However, few people knew about Gu Ziu's affairs in Qiuan. Targeting Gu Ziu was not a sudden move. Song Lanying felt that if Gu Ziu hadn't investigated, Song Li would not have died. The father and son set up a trap to take Song Li's life and refused to give him a life. How many times did her father serve the Ji Dao? For 10 years, there was no merit but hard work, but she would kill everyone for a trivial matter. Song Lanying hated Zhang Junlin and Gu Ziu. She followed Gu Ziu for a long time, and once she almost succeeded, but Lu Ziwen came to pick up Gu Ziu, so Song Lanying did not take action for fear of arousing the enemy. On New Year's Eve, she actually did not mean to follow Gu Ziu and Lu Ziwen. There was something going on by the river, and she accidentally saw Gu Ziu in the crowd. It was a God-given opportunity. Song Lanying wanted revenge, and she always carried a sharp knife with her. Her enemy was close in front of her, and she was very secretive among the crowd. She took action, and Gu Ziu was completely unconscious. If she stabbed him, Gu Ziu would definitely die. Unexpectedly, he is still alive. Song Lanying was filled with grief and anger. After the stabbing, there was no chance that Gu Ziu would survive. He actually survived. It can only be said that his life should not have been cut off. The hospital was heavily guarded. Song Lanying couldn't even take advantage of the opportunity to attack. She tried her best. He tried to get close to Gu Ziu, but to no avail. He was transferred from the outpatient department to the inpatient department. Since he couldn't kill Zhang Junlin's son, he would kill his sister. She wanted Zhang Junlin to also experience the feeling of losing a loved one. Gu Ci, don't blame me for being cruel. If you do, blame me for being Zhang Junlin's sister. Gu Ci continued his rounds without noticing Song Lanying's eyes. Late in the middle of the night, Rong Li was checking the whereabouts of Song Lanying. When he saw her medical file, he frowned and hurriedly called Lu Ziwen, "Third Master, Song Lanying is in the inpatient department of Nanjing Hospital." "What?" Lu Ziwen woke up from a deep sleep, his eyes clear. "Ziu has been discharged from the hospital. What is she doing in the inpatient department?" "Li Zhang, prepare the car, let's go to the hospital." "When was she admitted to the hospital?" "This afternoon." Lu Ziwen took his cell phone and called Gu Ci. Gu Ci had just finished his ward rounds and was a little surprised to see Lu Ziwen's call. It was already past 3 in the morning, so why hadn't he fallen asleep yet? "Third brother, Why aren't you asleep yet? Gu Si asked with a chuckle, fearing that it would affect the patient's rest. Gu Si walked to the stairwell to listen to the phone. As soon as he opened the door, he suddenly felt a cold light flash through. Gu Si responded. Soon, he reflexively avoided the stabbing dagger, pressed his body against the wall, and looked at Song Lanying in surprise. Song Lanying, what are you doing? Lu Ziwen's voice came from the mobile phone. She is the murderer of Ziyu, be careful. Gu Si's eyes turned cold, and Song Lanying stabbed her with the dagger again. Gu Si's cell phone was knocked down in the stairwell. She kicked Song Lanying away and ran upstairs. Song Lanying's eyes turned cold, and she followed her, feeling secretly resentful in her heart. No matter what, she almost succeeded. Gu Si was alone and in the stairwell. She almost killed her. She would never let Gu Si escape. Gu Si ran to the rooftop on purpose. Lu Ziwen called Gu Si's name on the phone, but didn't hear Gu Si's response. He felt a little nervous. He closed his eyes and teleported to the nearest place. In fact, he couldn't teleport directly. He moved to the hospital, but he would definitely arrive at the hospital in 3 minutes. I hope Gu Si can hold on. Song Lanying is a professional killer. Xiao Si. Gu Si knew that she only needed to delay for a few minutes, and Lu Ziwen would be here. After she got on the rooftop, she tried to close the door with her backhand, but Song Lanying kicked it open. Gu Si stepped back. Song Lanying, are you crazy? Why did you do this? Why? Song Lanying gave a twisted smile. If I'm to blame, it's because you are Zhang Junlin's sister. She looked at Gu Si with hatred and rushed towards him with a dagger. Suffer death. Wait a minute. Gu Si raised her hand. She was not a killer who had been trained since she was a child. She was not Song Lanying's opponent, so she could only wait for time. Why did you kill Gu Ziyu? He is just a child, what's wrong with him? Child, Song Lanying laughed. He was wrong because he was Zhang Junlin's child. Song Lanying stabbed at her again, no longer giving Gu Si a chance to speak. Gu Si was unarmed and could only dodge. His arm was scratched by the dagger, but luckily no flesh was injured. Even the great Luo immortal can't save you today. Hatred filled Song Lanying's eyes. I want to pay for a life with one life, so that Zhang Junlin can also feel the pain of losing his family. Gu Si raised her hand and glanced at the watch. 2 minutes had passed. She was hiding from Song Lanying's assassination in a panic. Gu Si also had skills, but she had been training in prison for several years. Unlike professional agents like Qin Wan and Song Lanying, she had to work very hard to hide from Song Lanying's assassination. In a very embarrassed state, Gu Si pulled out the hairpin on her head and fought back. Song Lanying grabbed her hand and twisted it hard. Gu Si only felt severe pain in her wrist. Song Lanying laughed ferociously. I want you to die in an embarrassing way. No body left alive. She twisted Gu Si's hand with her backhand, lifted Gu Si with great strength, and threw Gu Si directly from the top floor. Go to hell. The cold wind blew through her ears. This was not the first time that Gu Si felt the pain of falling, but she still couldn't suppress her panic. She screamed Lu Ziwen's name, Lu Ziwen. At the moment Gu Si was about to fall to the ground, Gu Si had closed her eyes in despair, waiting for the severe pain to hit. She couldn't survive such a high distance. She could still see Song Lanying's ferocious smile upstairs. Suddenly a black shadow flew into the night. A powerful arm reached out to catch Gu Si tightly in his arms and landed firmly on the ground. Song Lanying's eyes were so red that it was so impossible. How can it be? Why was Lu Ziwen able to catch her? Song Lanying was furious and disappeared from the roof very quickly. Gu Si was shocked and stared blankly at Lu Ziwen. Lu Ziwen was covered in cold sweat. He almost couldn't catch Gu Si in just 1 second. Gu Si suddenly threw herself into his arms. Her face pale, third brother. Don't be afraid, I'm here, Lu Ziwen whispered hoarsely in her ear, with lingering fear in her heart, I'm here. Moi. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 657. Chapter 657 The curse is gone. Gu Si was in shock and looked up at the stairs, Song Lanying. Are you hurt? Lu Ziwen let go of her and touched her scratched white coat. His heart sank. Fortunately, he didn't touch any blood, so he probably didn't hurt any muscles or bones. Gu Si shook his head, and the dagger cut her. Lu Ziwen looked at her messy hair and looked upstairs. He closed his eyes and teleported to the rooftop with Gu Si. Song Lanying had long disappeared. Song Lanying ran away. Don't worry, she won't be able to run away for a few days. She can't get out of a city's dragnet. Lu Ziwen is not worried that Song Lanying will run away. Xiu must be safe and sound while recuperating in the world. Song Lanying will not be able to escape even if she has great abilities. Lost. I searched for the murderer a few days ago, but there was no news. Mainly because there were no clues and no clues. Now that I have clues and a specific person, it is easy to investigate. Song Lanying still shows up in the hospital. That is asking for death. Gu Si breathed a sigh of relief, and suddenly felt a terrible pain in her ankle. She frowned slightly, and Lu Ziwen noticed it. Is it sprained? A bit. Lu Ziwen picked her up and carried her down. In Gu Si's office, Lu Ziwen half crouched in front of her and looked at her ankle. The bones were a little dislocated and the ankle was red and swollen. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning and the hospital was silent and there was no movement. Gu Si said, I'll call an orthopedic surgeon. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Ziwen raised his head and looked at her with a chuckle, don't believe me. Gu Si was dazzled by the evil smile, and felt a sharp pain in her ankle. Lu Ziwen straightened her bones. Gu Si moved her ankle, and sure enough, the pain was gone. She had just been fighting with Song Lanying in the stairwell. I accidentally twisted it, and when my life was hanging by a thread, I didn't notice the pain. I only felt the pain when the crisis was over. Song Lanying is so brave and dares to come to the hospital. Who is she and why did she kill Xiu? This matter is a little complicated to talk about. Lu Ziwen made a long story short. Gu Si was very surprised when she heard that he was a very evil person. She knew about Song Li. He did make a very serious mistake and it was unforgivable. Simple corruption. Zhang Junlin may turn a blind eye, but if it is a flaw in his moral character, Zhang Junlin cannot tolerate it in his eyes. Moreover, after leaving the Jidao, Song Li may serve as the president of a bank. Such an important position, if his character is not good, the problem is, if it doesn't work, Zhang Junlin fires Song Li. Song Li was particularly unconvinced at that time. Black Eagle and Jida were in trouble and reported each other. None of those people were punished. They were simply transferred to work. If they perform well in a year or two, they can return to the inner circle. Why do they have to arrest them? Making a fuss about his corruption, Zhang Junlin did not give him any chance to explain, and the matter was settled. Gu Si did not pay attention to the follow-up. There were so many trivial things in the Jidao, and not everything she and Zhang Junlin could handle. Taking this into account, Gu Si did not expect that Song Lanying would be so extreme and attribute the fault to Jidao. Song Li left the Yuda after his corruption. Zhang Junlin was open-minded. He just ruined his bright future, and there is no record in the files. With his qualifications and ability, he has been successful in both foreign financial institutions and the domestic financial industry. It is not a problem to get a very good job with an annual salary of tens of millions, but he is greedy and insists on using the well-known Yuda resources to bribe and cause trouble. Xiu is responsible for the investigation. He and Zhang Junlin are nominally father and son. Songlaneying will naturally hold grudges, and if there is no follow-up, everyone can live in peace. Lu Ziwen's tone was light. In fact, there are too many temptations in the financial circle. Fund managers manage hundreds of millions, tens of billions, or hundreds of billions of funds. No matter how good their performance is, they still get management fees. As long as they use their brains a little, the money can be transferred outside. After going around for a while, I can draw tens of millions or hundreds of millions when I get it back. I have to face the temptation of finance, power, and every day. Whether it is the Yakuza or the Black Eagle, they are all made up of people. Neither Zhang Junlin nor Lu Ziwen can require their subordinates to maintain the same bottom line as themselves. There are people with high moral character and people with low moral character. This is a very common thing. Rong Li has handled many similar cases in the past 5 years. He has dismissed several problematic fund managers. Those who violated their bottom line have also called the police to deal with them without mercy. Rong Li's phone call came. Lu Ziwen answered the phone. Rong Li said succinctly, "I lost track." The other party's anti-tracking ability is very strong. It doesn't matter. If you can escape, the monk cannot escape from the temple. We will start with her family relationship and force her to show up. Give the information to the National Security Bureau and ask them to assist in the investigation. Li Zhang will follow Ziyu and don't let him out of the attic for the time being. Yes, after receiving the order, Rong Li also hung up the phone. Gu Ci changed into a white coat and suddenly thought of something. "You should leave quickly, don't stay in the hospital. I'll guard you in the hospital to prevent Songlaneying from making a comeback." Lu Ziwen chuckled and said, "You don't have to worry about me, just go and do whatever you need to do. No matter where I am, you can be by my side in 3 minutes." Gu Ci looked at him with a smile. Gu Ci was busy in the hospital, and she had been safe and sound for so many years. No one would touch her, even if she took over as the Jida. Pei Chuying was so eye-catching back then, and Zhang Junlin had stabilized his hatred, so Gu Ci didn't have to worry about her own safety. She had the ability to protect herself. If she didn't delay for a few minutes, Lu Ziwen would be there. She had never worried about her own safety. Gu Ci after Ziyu was hospitalized, she asked the outpatient department to pay attention, fearing that the murderer would sneak in. Until Gu Ziyu left the hospital and went home to recuperate, there was no movement from the murderer. She thought the murderer would look for another opportunity, but she didn't expect that the target had changed. This was the first time in many years that Gu Ci was assassinated. "Xiao Ci, if you were a step later," Lu Ziwen closed his eyes, still a little scared, "I almost didn't follow you." "I believe you will be able to follow me," Gu Ci said softly, "but I don't want you to suffer in the hospital. It will hurt me badly when you get close to me, and I will feel distressed, so you should leave the hospital first." After Gu Ci finished speaking, she left the office. There was something going on in the emergency department. Lu Ziwen looked at her back blankly, unable to recover for a moment. After Gu Ci disappeared, he stroked his heart with a look of shock on his face. Why? He didn't feel any pain at all. He can approach Gu Ci unscrupulously, even without Ziyu. How could this happen? Why? When did it start? Lu Ziwen had never felt any pain when he was close to Gu Ci these days. He thought it was because he was bringing Ziyu with him, so he was used to feeling no pain when he was around Gu Ci. It became a habit and he rarely had the idea of being close in his mind. The thought that Gu Ci would be in pain happened suddenly, and he never thought of bringing his son Yu together. From the time he carried Gu Ci back to the office until Gu Ci left, if Gu Ci hadn't reminded him, he wouldn't have thought of it at all. Something is coming. Lu Ziwen was leaning against the wall. Did the curse disappear? How did it disappear? This is the first time in so many years. Lu Ziwen's heartbeat suddenly accelerated, and he looked at the direction Gu Ci was leaving in surprise. Gu Ci went to the emergency room for surgery. Lu Ziwen asked for the direction of the operating room, walked quickly, and pulled a nurse who was walking towards the operating room to ask if it was right. Gu Ci was operating inside, and after receiving a positive answer, Lu Ziwen slowly approached the surgeons, but still felt no pain. Such a distance, he should have been heartbroken. Lu Ziwen suddenly laughed. The stone that had been weighing on his heart for so many years finally disappeared. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 658. Chapter 658 Metamorphosis. Understanding metamorphosis. Why? Lu Ziwen didn't understand, and was very confused, but the gods couldn't answer him. Why did the pain disappear? If the pain disappeared, would the curse also disappear? He leaned against the window in a daze. There were stars in the night, and the sky outside the operation was quiet. Lu Ziwen thought of the countless times he had sat in the temple and watched the stars. To him, the sparse and ordinary scenery seemed extraordinarily beautiful tonight. Lu Ziwen smiled. It was getting thicker, and he was waiting for Gu Ci outside the operation. He wanted to tell Gu Ci immediately that Gu Ci's operation was particularly long, so wrongly called Lu Ziwen again. Third Master, we have found Song Lanying. She is walking towards the suburbs. Our people have followed her. There is a mobile aircraft following her. There are still 6 kilometers to the toll station. Notify the National Security Bureau to stop her at the toll booth. Notified, Qinwan and I went to the toll station to arrest people in person. Ziu's men are dispatching controls, and Ji Xian is in command around the world. I'll go back to the world right away. Lu Ziwen glanced at his cell phone. Gu Ci's surgery was probably going to take several hours. 2 guards followed him to the hospital. Lu Ziwen put them in the hospital to protect Gu Ci while he returned to the world. He can also return to the world very quickly. In fact, if it is not necessary, he will not use teleportation, which consumes himself a lot usually. Only if something happens to Gu Ci, he will use his superpower. At 4 o'clock in the morning, Quan and Black Eagle teamed up to arrest the murderer. Zhang Junlin was not told about this. Song Lanying was originally a member of the Yakuza. It was not that they were afraid of favoritism by the Yakuza. It was because there was no need to dispatch so many people for this matter. Qinwan happened to I stayed up late to catch up on my thesis and saw Chen Liangdong going out in the middle of the night. I asked him about it and found out that Song Lanying had fled to the suburbs, so she volunteered to hunt him down. Chen Liangdong agreed to her request. Black Hawk dispatched a group of elites, led by Rong Li. Chen Liangdong asked Qinwan to follow Rong Li's command. There was a person who was familiar with the Jidao and knew Song Lanying's thoughts better. Chen Liangdong was mainly responsible for intercepting along the way. Black Hawk has no privilege in this aspect, he must come forward. The toll station had long been prepared for interception. Cars at the toll station were checked one by one in the middle of the night. At the toll station at 4 o'clock in the morning, there was a queue of 2 kilometers. Qinwan and Rong Li came by helicopter, and a small team also came by helicopter. The helicopter came over and landed directly at the toll station. After Qinwan showed his ID, he took Rong Li and 2 guards to check the vehicle. The car Song Lanying was riding in was a white Toyota with the license plate ending in 038. He exited the checkpoint. It was extremely slow and the queue was getting longer and longer. Some car owners were curious to get out of the car, and some who were anxious to leave the city were cursing and wondering what happened. Song Lanying's mobile phone signal was 400 meters ahead. Qinwan and Rong Li walked along the queue of vehicles. One of the car owners got out of the car cursing, "You must be sick at night, what are you doing at the checkpoint?" As soon as the car door opened, Qinwan closed it roughly, "Shut up and stay still." The car owner went numb when he saw the firearm in Qin Wan's hand. They were all ordinary people. Whoever had seen this posture became as quiet as a chicken in an instant. He even locked the car to avoid any trouble. Qin Wan and Rong Li arrived in front of Song Laniang's car in the dark. No one was in the car. Rong Li touched the hood of the car. It was still hot. The car must have just turned off, and she must not have gone far. Xiaoxian, did the surveillance cameras see where she ran? She turned over and got off the highway. Ji Sun said that monitoring is not omnipotent. He hacked into a car owner's driving recorder and saw it. There were not many monitoring points near the toll station. The night was too dark and the aircraft did not record it. Get a very clear picture. Without saying a word, Qin Wan got off the expressway in the direction Ji Xian said. Rong Li followed her. After getting off the expressway, there was a village 2 kilometers away. Song Laniang had only been off for 5 minutes and could not walk far. Rong Li said, "Move the helicopter over, light up this area, and surround it with a radius of 1 kilometer." Yes. The guards listened to the order. With such a big battle, the toll station naturally knew how to arrest the heinous murderer and cooperated very well. Song Laniang fled off the highway. The inspectors at the toll station also knew what was going on. The national security quickly took over the checkpoint. Their people came to check. Helicopters searched around a kilometer radius. Chen Liangdong even sent a drone to cooperate with Rong Li. Ji Sun did not watch the surveillance and asked the information personnel to watch the surveillance. He was looking at Song Laniang's information. Song Laniang grew up in the UK. Song Li and his first wife were infertile after 10 years of marriage. They divorced and gave birth to Song Laniang after their second marriage. When Song Laniang was 3 years old, her parents divorced and she chose to live with her father. Song Li never returned. He married Song Laniang, and there were many women around him, but he never gave anyone a status. He loved Song Laniang very much, so the relationship between father and daughter was particularly good. When Song Laniang was in elementary school, she frequently called her parents because of fights. The community where they lived called the police for cat abuse. Later, the evidence pointed to an alcoholic teenager in the community. The boy did not admit the crime, but he was sent to a juvenile detention center for education. For half a year, Song Laniang's mental state has been unstable, extreme, and easy to go to extremes, and she has a certain mentality of cruelty and murder. Her instructor did not recommend that she continue to work as an agent and wrote a report to submit. This report did not fall on the head of the agent in charge. Song Li intercepted it midway. Song Laniang's temperament was much more restrained and she had followed the rules for many years, but Song Laniang's instructor had always been cold and harsh to her. It is worth noting that the instructor died in a drunk driving incident, and the reports given by Song Laniang's instructor were normal. Song Laniang turned out to be an extremely righteous person, so her behavior report was very clear. It was clear what she had done and what social relationships she had over the years. This person was very lonely. After her parents divorced, she was very estranged from her mother. Her mother once came to I saw her several times, but she avoided seeing her. She also didn't have many friends. When she was studying, her friends commented on her that she was weird and lacked empathy. Ji Sun looked at the report and squinted his eyes. He closed his eyes and thought about the dark toll booth area. What would he have done if it was him a few years ago? His mentality completely goes back to that of Xiao Ji Sun 10 years ago. He would jump off the highway. He knew that there were helicopters and drones chasing him behind him. He lost his means of transportation. He only walked on his legs. No matter how hard he ran, he could not outrun the helicopters and vehicles. There was no dense forest to hide in. Darkness is the best cover. It can cover him for a while, but it is difficult for him to break out. If he jumps off the highway and runs on his legs, he will definitely die. I jumped off the highway to find a way to live, Not to die, so what should I do? Ji-sun opened his eyes and looked at the dark queue of vehicles. If he were Song Lanying, after jumping off the highway, under the cover of night, he would return to the convoy, pretending to be injured, to see which unlucky car owner she will be soft-hearted and let her get on the bus. She is rich and powerful. She can easily pass the toll booth by coercing the car owner. After all, the people at the checkpoint think that if she runs off the highway, the inspection will be relaxed. After passing the toll station and killing the car owner, she can go wherever she wants and get away perfectly. Ji Huan opened his eyes and called Chen Liangdong, asking him to inform the checkpoint that strict inspections must be carried out and the speed should be slowed down. More than a dozen vehicles had just passed by. If Song Lanying was mixed in with the queued vehicles, she must not have passed by yet. She's not so bold, is she? She still dares to mix in the convoy. Chen Liangdong frowned and informed the people at the checkpoint to close the highway intersection directly, leaving only one passage. Vehicles traveling by one person out of the city were relaxed, and vehicles traveling by 2 or 3 people were relaxed. Vehicles must be inspected carefully. This investigation revealed that something had indeed happened. Song Lanying was eyeing a father and daughter who were returning to their hometown. The daughter was only 3 years old and was sleeping in the back seat with a quilt rolled up. The father did not let Song Lanying get in the car on purpose. The lock of the car was not automatic. Song Lanying he opened the door and got into the car, controlled his daughter in the back seat, and asked the car owner and the people at the checkpoint to tell them that they were a family of 3 leaving the city. A family of 3 was not the target of the checkpoint. The photo taken by the National Security Bureau was of Song Lanying with short hair and the clothes she wore when she was in the hospital. She had a shoulder-length wig, and she changed into a long wig when she went out of the city. The makeup was also very thick. As long as the car owner did not reveal his secrets, it was easy to get through. The car owner would also help her pass the checkpoint safely for the safety of his daughter. Song Lanying didn't expect that someone would guess her trajectory. She grabbed the little girl in the back seat with her backhand and pointed the gun at her head. "Qin Wan, stay back, or I will shoot. Get out of the way." The 3-year-old girl didn't know what fear was yet. Even when a murder weapon was pointed at her, she started laughing, thinking she was playing with her. Everyone broke into a cold sweat when they saw this scene. The father cried and begged Song Lanying to let go of her daughter. "I'll take her place, I'll take her place, let her go, please, she is only 3 years old and doesn't understand anything, please." He held the front of the car and knelt down to beg Song Lanying. Moi. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 659. Chapter 659 Protection and Sacrifice. Song Lanying thought of Song Li when she wanted to follow her father and quit the Yakuza, and wanted to win another world. Song Li also begged Zhang Junlin, hoping that Zhang Junlin would keep Song Lanying, but Zhang Junlin didn't want to keep them at that time. Who voluntarily leaves the Yakuza, he can arrange a job. Song Lanying obviously holds a grudge and is unwilling to serve the Yakuza anymore. "Qin Wan, give me a car and let go of the checkpoint, I want to leave." The little girl saw her father breaking down and crying, and seemed to realize something. She cried loudly, and the demonic sound pierced her ears. Wrongly realized that something was wrong, and quickly ordered people to take the father down, but he refused to die, calling his daughter's nickname was Pudao. Little Pudao heard her father calling her and was dragged down again. She was so scared that she cried. Song Lanying shouted, "Don't cry." The little girl didn't understand good or evil, nor danger. She only wanted her father. She stretched out her hands and called her father. She cried so hard that she couldn't breathe. However, Song Lanying had no sympathy for the young and knocked the little girl unconscious with one palm. The father happened to see it, and rushed up to fight for his life, but was dragged down by Black Eagle's people. If you don't want your daughter, just sit still. The little girl was hanging in Song Lanying's arms like a doll. Song Lanying said, "If I die, I will hold her on my back. It will not be a loss for me. Qin Wan, you'd better listen to me." "Okay." Qin Wan snapped her fingers and asked people to prepare. Rong Li was reluctant to let her go and pulled her aside. "If the tiger returns to the mountain, there will be endless troubles. Besides, Song Lanying has no mercy at all. How can she get out of trouble? I will never let the little girl go. I can only do this." Qin Wan's eyes were firm. She held Rong Li's wrist and shook it away fiercely. "Song Lanying, I will trade with her. My life is much more valuable than a little girl, and my master has trained her since childhood. You have more leverage over my life than a little girl, and my mother is the second in command of the Yakuza. No matter what, I, the hostage, have more negotiating value." "No," Chen Liangdong heard Qin Wan's words on the surveillance camera. "This is a joint effort between Black Eagle and National Security to arrest the murderer. It has nothing to do with the Jida. Let her withdraw." As soon as the National Security officers came forward, Qin Wan threw away her gun, took out a dagger from her boots and threw it at her. She then took out handcuffs from her waist and put her own handcuffs on. She bit the key and vomited onto the highway. In the woods below, he raised his trapped hand and said, "Don't worry." A set of movements flowed smoothly. Before Rong Li could say another word, Qin Wan had already walked towards Song Lanying. "I'll replace her. If you take me as a hostage, everything will go smoothly. How about that?" Song Lanying gritted her teeth and looked at Qin Wan. She was a few years younger than Qin Wan. She was not conspicuous among a group of children who were training together. Qin Wan did not grow up in Jidao, but was brought in by Zhang Junlin. Around me, when Zhang Junlin was choosing a guard, he was interested in choosing a female agent. He was the president of Hualin and a young man. He had many social activities and had a regular female companion by his side, which would make work much more convenient. Song Lanying was the most outstanding among that group of children. She was full of hope and felt that she would definitely choose him. Song Li also kept brainwashing her. As long as she chooses Zhang Junlin's bodyguard, she will rise to the top and her future will be limitless. But this position was taken by Qin Wan. Qin Wan parachuted into the Jidao and not only took her place, he was also carefully trained by Zhang Junlin. He chose a good school and was given the best educational resources. The people he had been exposed to since childhood had a huge difference in what he learned from others, and she did not. When Zhang Junlin's bodyguard became the top Yakuza agent, Song Lanying was jealous and envious. Later, when he found out that she was Dr. North's daughter, she suddenly realized why Zhang Junlin chose her in the first place. The fair competition that was promised ultimately relied on relationships. Why did she lose to Qin Wan? Just because of her father. Without Qin Wan, would her mother be more valued by Zhang Junlin? She looked at Qin Wan's handcuffs maliciously and licked her teeth. Qin Wan's voice was particularly cold in the late winter morning. "Song Lanying, the little girl in your hand is worthless. You can't go far with her. Only by taking me can you get out of trouble and be safe." Song Lanying chuckled strangely. "Okay, I'll trade you for it, but you are the top warrior of Jidao. I don't trust you. If you pick up the gun and destroy your right hand, I will trade it." "It's settled." Qin Wan picked up the firearm she dropped on the ground with his right hand, hooked his fingers slightly, and turned the firearm in the air, landing on his left hand. Chen Liangdong was furious. "Little cherry, no. Dad, my daughter is loyal." Qin Wan took off his earphones and pointed the gun at his arm. Just as he was about to shoot, Rong Li held his wrist. Rong Li's eyes were cold and dark, like the bottomless night. Are you crazy? Didn't you hear Xiaoxian say that this person is a lunatic? If you are held hostage by her, you are not afraid of losing your life. Rong Li, that child is only 3 years old, Qin Wan said calmly. She should not have suffered like this, nor should she have died at an ignorant age. When I put on the military uniform, I will be ready to sacrifice at any time. She broke away from Rong Li with her wrist, and without blinking, she shot herself in the right shoulder. The bullet hit her body, and the blood instantly dyed her clothes red. Qin Wan didn't move at all. He was shot all over, and there were only a few drops of cold sweat. Betraying her pain. Song Lanying laughed loudly. Okay, come here. Rong Li clenched his fist tightly and stared at Qin Wan's profile. In his impression, Qin Wan had always been a girl who had her own way of doing things, had no bottom line, no rules, and a very bad temper. Even if she is wearing a military uniform, she still looks like a gangster. Rong Li never thought that one day she would actually protect a stranger for her honor and belief. Just as she swore, she is a soldier, and it is her bounden duty to protect the people. Qin Wan lost the gun, and his whole arm was numb. He walked over slowly. Song Lanying grabbed her, put the muzzle of the gun against Qin Wan's temple, and threw the little grape to Rong Li. Rong Li hurriedly caught it and fell unconscious. Little girl. That's good work, Song Lanying approached her gently. I didn't expect that you still have such awareness. This is why you were abandoned by your master. Qin Wan saw that the little girl was already fine in Rong Li's arms, so he no longer had any worries. Without faith and loyalty, you are nothing. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 660. Chapter 660, Die Together. Qin Wan's shoulder wound was simply treated, and it continued to bleed. Song Lanying could not kill her for a while. She was Song Lanying's life-saving talisman. She took Qin Wan with her and passed the checkpoint, and drove out all the way. Helicopters and drones, the man and the machine retreated, but no one followed. Only Kuoan used satellite signals to track them all the way. Song Lanying had learned anti-tracking technology very well and was familiar with this system. She knew that she could not escape tracking, so she took Qin with her. Wan kept driving forward on the highway. Chen Liangdong didn't dare to hide this from North. He told Qin Wan as soon as she was held hostage. North was stunned. This is a national security operation. What do you want her to do? Isn't this nonsense? Chen Liangdong didn't even have time to defend himself. He thought there was nothing dangerous about this matter. Qin Wan was very energetic after finishing her thesis and had nothing to do, so Qin Wan volunteered to come. Chen Liangdong now regrets that she should not have been allowed to participate in the event. Zhang Junlin frowned. What's going on now? Black Hawk is following them, they are still on the highway. North watched the video and his heart ached. Although Qin Wan's injury was not fatal, it was not treated and the bullet remained in the body. Excessive blood loss and shock could kill someone. What nonsense! Ji Sun called Zhang Junlin. Brother, I checked Song Lanying's activity map a few days ago. She made an appointment with a cargo ship to leave the country. It's in H City. She can reach the seaside in 3 hours along the highway. I doubt she'll get on board. New. Ji Xian said. Rong Li flew over in a helicopter. It was faster than driving, so he took 2 people with him. Zhang Junlin glanced at the personnel deployment in H City, frowned slightly, and asked Chen Liangdong to arrange personnel to rescue. Coincidentally, Chen Fei was on vacation in H City. After receiving the order, you can get to the beach in an hour and can be deployed in advance. In the car, Qin Wan endured the severe pain from the wound. Song Lanying would not let her die, so she gave her some medicine, but the bullet was still in her body. Qin Wan's wound was in excruciating pain and she lost too much blood. It also caused her body temperature to drop, making her bloodless. Song Lanying, you can't escape. Qin Wan's voice trembled due to pain. You are familiar with our operating system, do you think you can escape? With you in hand, what should I be afraid of? Song Lanying said with a chuckle, you are the daughter of Chen Liangdong and Nuasi. I'm afraid they dare not take action. Qin Wan, when we reach the high seas, I will be free, and you will only be buried under the sea. Become the shark's dinner, even if I am unfortunately arrested, believe me, you will go to accompany me, and I will not lose if I drag Chen Liangdong's daughter to be buried with you. It's not a loss if I drag a top killer to be buried with you. I saved countless lives, Qin Wan said coldly. Why did you kill Gu Ziyu? You hate your master, why don't you go after him? Those who bully the weak are afraid of the strong. You even held a little girl hostage, but you didn't dare to hold an adult hostage. Song Lanying, you have already exposed your cowardice. Song Lanying punched Qin Wan and deliberately hit her wound. Shut up. She became angry with shame, but Qin Wan could only think of one word, it's your own fault. Song Lanying was furious, but could not kill Qin Wan for a while. The hand holding the steering wheel was tightly held, with veins popping out. The car was still driving at high speed, but Qin Wan did not close his eyes. You want to go to the port? Song Lanying did not answer. Silence is golden. Qin Wan said, Song Lanying, you have a great future in the Jida, why did you give up? Your father made a mistake, and the master did not kill him, nor did he ask you to leave the Jida. He only wanted to go to a civilian position to prove your ability. With loyalty, you will still have a good future. The master will not involve you in Song Li's matter, but he is just worried. You must quit the Yuda and give up your good future. Why? Why? Song Lanying was furious, as if she had lost her mind. You actually have the nerve to ask why. Zhang Junlin is not going to implicate me, but if I go to a civil service position, what way out can I get? It's just 2 or 3 years of qualifications, what's the point? Things can help me prove my loyalty. My father worked hard for the Yakuza without any merit, but he was cruelly fired just because of a small corruption. His great future was ruined. He could have had a good future, so why did he have to be so cruel? If you insist on firing my dad, the fate of our entire family will be ruined because of his decision. Qin Wan just thought it was ridiculous, you are really extreme. If you go to a civil service unit obediently and are willing to work faithfully, it won't take 2 years at all. You have good qualifications and abilities, and you can get rid of Song Li's influence on you in 1 year. I made a mistake, and the master also asked me to meditate. I was also arranged to study calligraphy, illustration, and piano for half a year. You are not the only one who was punished. Song Li was fired. He deserved it. He was the director of a financial center and was embezzled. If he accepts bribes, if he is a bank president, how many assets will be drained from his hands? If he makes a mistake in the future, others will only point at the owner's backbone and say that Song Li is his, because he did not discipline him well, or was extremely Tao is a cancer. You can do whatever you want by relying on your own power. Those who come out of Ji Tao are all this kind of garbage. Why should we be associated with him and why should we be influenced by him? We have been severely punished in the past few years and we don't know how to deal with it. There are so many people who have worked hard, why can't they deal with Song Li? If they violate the bottom line, they must clean up. A rat's droppings ruin a pot of porridge. Your family wants such a person, and we absolutely don't want it. You have no position to blame the master. Really interesting. Shut up, Song Lanying said angrily, you parachuted into the extreme realm, and you were trained by Zhang Junlin. Your parents have a good background. You have a good future after graduate school. Why do you accuse us who work hard to climb up? Your background has given you so many resources and aura that we can't get in our lifetime. We just want to climb up, so what's wrong with that? A gentleman loves money and gets it in the right way. In the same way, if you want to climb up, no one can stop you, but you are harming the interests of a group of people. I was born well, yes, I don't deny it, but I was originally an orphan. I didn't know who my mother was until I became an adult. My master didn't train me because he liked my mother. My mother had betrayed him back then. He didn't kill me, so he was extremely merciful. I relied on my own brains, and you are jealous of me because you have the ability to stand beside him, but you can't be me. If it were you, he wouldn't want you at all, so what's wrong with you? False. Song Lanying didn't believe Qin Wan's words at all. This was just Qin Wan's one-sided statement. Anyway, you are the one who is now a prisoner, not me. Qin Wan said softly, you can't escape. She stopped arguing with Song Lanying, conserved her strength, and went out to the high seas. Song Lanying would definitely throw her into the ocean. Would they predict that she would go out to sea? If you can identify it and ambush early, you may still have a chance of survival. Song Lanying cannot run away. Otherwise, there will be endless troubles. If an agent who is familiar with the operation of the Yakuza and has been trained by the Yakuza escapes, the life safety of the master will not be guaranteed. It is best to eradicate the root cause. Qin Wan secretly thought that if possible, she would want Song Lanying to die on the high seas. Both of them were prepared to kill each other, but due to various reasons, they had to be in the same car. The seaside. Song Lanying left people at the beach and called to confirm the situation. Knowing that no one from Jidao and Kyoan came over in advance, Song Lanying dragged Qin Wan, who had lost too much blood, to the boat. The people from Kyoan and Black Hawk were behind them, watching the cargo ship leave. Song Lanying looked at the group of people on the shore provocatively and made a shooting gesture, very arrogantly. Ji Xian frowned as he watched on the surveillance camera. Song Lanying must die. She almost killed Ziyu. If she were alive, after a few years, everyone would relax their vigilance and come back again, both her brother and Ziyu would be in danger. Song Lanying was extremely patient, and Ji Sun would not bet on this possibility. Ji Sun changed the channel so that only Rong Li could hear. Rong Li, kill her, don't leave her alive. I know. Ji Huan didn't say anything, and Rong Li didn't intend to keep Song Lanying alive. If not, wouldn't the sword strike and Qin Wan's shot be in vain? There were people from Song Lanying on this cargo ship. She spent money to hire 6 security personnel. They were very skilled and the price was naturally not low. Song Li was once the director of the Jidao Financial Center, and his annual salary was very high. Song Lanying had never been short of money since she was a child. Even after Song Li was shot to death, Song Lanying could still live comfortably with the money left by Song Li. She had to take the wrong approach, and she had to take this breath. Otherwise, she would be able to live a comfortable life wherever she took the money. Our mission is almost over, let's check out. The security personnel's mission is to her to the high seas. Song Lanying will change ships when she reaches the high seas, and they will no longer follow Song Lanying. Okay, Song Lanying said calmly, when we get to the high seas, I'm safe, so I'll settle the bill for you naturally and give you the deposit. I'm afraid I won't default on the bill. The security guard glanced at Qin Wan, who was dying. Her clothes were stained red with blood, and her face was as white as a piece of paper. If this person doesn't care anymore, his life will be gone. Song Lanying stepped on Qin Wan's wound. It's good to be dead. Qin Wan was twitching in pain, but he was in a coma, as if he couldn't bear the pain and was twitching in a coma. Song Lanying asked, how long until we reach the high seas? 1 hour. Song Lanying looked back with a telescope. Black Eagle sent people to follow them, 1 kilometer away. Song Lanying thought viciously. When they reached the high seas, she changed ships, and Qin Wan was thrown into the sea by her. Even if they came to rescue, it would be too late. They didn't have a helicopter following them, so they couldn't track her whereabouts. "Qinhuan, you deserve your fate," Song Lanying laughed heartily. "Dad, I can't avenge you, but killing Qinhuan is considered revenge. In a few years, I will definitely come back and kill Zhang. Junlin and Guzia brought their ashes to pay homage to you." Half an hour later, we gradually approached the high seas. Chen Liangdong was a little impatient. "Helicopters are dispatched, don't wait." As the helicopter waiting on the shore took off, Zhang Junlin frowned and connected to Chen Fei. "Song Lanying is not important, I want Qinhuan to live." Clear. Saving Qinhuan is Chen Fei's first goal, but killing Song Lanying is not. Several speedboats docked on the high seas, waiting for Song Lanying. The freighter quickly approached the high seas. North was also a little anxious. "When we reach the high seas, it is inconvenient for us to take action. What should we do? Their ships and helicopters cannot cross that line. You can shoot freely on the high seas." Song Lanying smiled proudly when he saw the waiting speedboat. The cargo ship also slowed down for him. A motorboat was lowered, and Song Lanying could leave on the motorboat. Qinhuan was on the deck, as angry as a gossamer, and the cargo ship slowly stopped. Song Lanying approached Qinhuan and sneered, "Qinhuan, today is the day you die. If you want to be a hero, I will make it happen for you." She had been handcuffing Qinhuan to the railing, and when she had just released the handcuffs and was about to push Qinhuan into the sea, Qinhuan suddenly became violent and punched Song Lanying hard. Song Lanying was unprepared and took a few steps back. Qinhuan opening his eyes, his face was pale, but his eyes were full of anger. "Song Lanying, you want to run away, you are dreaming. She will stop Song Lanying on the high seas even to her death." "Just you." Song Lanying pulled out her pistol and pointed it at Qinhuan. "Go to hell." The moment she fired, a figure suddenly rushed from behind her and pushed Song Lanying down. Her pistol slipped out. Rong Li grabbed her throat with both hands. Song Lanying was not a good person. Although she was not prepared, she was very careful. She quickly came to her senses, nimbly avoided Rong Li's attack, and shouted to her security team, "Kill her." She pointed at Qinhuan. Qinhuan was already at the end of his game. He tried his best to bring down Song Lanying, but he couldn't resist the group of security guards. At this moment, Chen Fei, who had been lurking for a long time, suddenly appeared and protected Qinhuan. Chen Fei's mission is to protect Qinhuan, so he doesn't care what happens to Song Lanying. Song Lanying and Rong Li struggled with each other and gradually lost the upper hand. Rong Li almost broke her arm. The pain made Song Lanying break out in cold sweat. Chen Fei beat 5-5, but still did not lose. Qinhuan leaned on the railing, his head she was dazed. She had lost too much blood and was in shock. Song Lanying couldn't resist Rong Li and was beaten until she vomited a few mouthfuls of blood. Rong Li never had any sympathy for women and the beatings were really hard. Song Lanying soon lost her temper. Rong Li said coldly, "Today is your death anniversary." This is what Song Lanying said to Qinhuan, and Rong Li returned it to her intact. Song Lanying was furious and tried to grab the pistol on the deck. Rong Li rushed her to grab it, but who knew that Song Lanying was just a feint. She suddenly rushed over and grabbed Qinhuan. She knew she couldn't escape, but she also wanted to drag Qinhuan to die together. End of this chapter.